Hi, Peter Boolkah here, and welcome to today's edition of the Transition Guide. Now, joining me in the studio today is Mitch Russo, founder and former CEO of Payslips Corp. Welcome, Mitch.
Thank you, Peter. Great to be here.
Great to have you. Tell us, you've been one of those entrepreneurs that's actually taken a business and started it in your garage.
Yep.
And you actually grew it to an 8-figure business. What was that like?
Well, it was really, really hard. I was in my mid 20s. I was 27 really when I started the business, and I never had anything like that before. And so I didn't really quite understand what exactly it was I was supposed to do. But I held to a very few key values. One of them was create a great product. That was one of my key values. I figured if you created a great product, then maybe you wouldn't sell it as fast as somebody else might, but at least people would like it and word of mouth would spread. So the second thing that I figured out was that, and this is going to sound groundbreaking in today's world, don't spend more than you have. And so we probably could have moved or grown faster if I was willing to, take investment VC money or something like that. And we didn't. We basically funded our entire operation for all 9 years that I ran it through our checkbook. We even made acquisitions through our checkbook because our goal was never to be in debt to anybody or anyone or any organization, because we never wanted anyone else to have influence or control over us.
Did you think that restricted your growth at the time?
I think it could have. I think we did it. The other thing is it would have made me less hungry and less aggressive.
Right.
If I would have had, $5 or $7 million in the bank from investors, I would have said, you know what, just spend more. I will eventually get there. But I was measuring the results on every $30 advertisement we ran, and I was calculating them on a spreadsheet just about every day. I don't think I would have done that if $30 were not such a important amount of money to me back then.
And I suppose that's the interesting thing, is that you actually got into the detail, which you would kind of assume you would do, considering that you actually ended up selling your business to Sage, the software accounting company.
Yep. Well, Sage still sells our product. It's not, obviously it's been updated many times. They acquired our programming team, and some of those folks are still in place as well. But the interesting thing is that the original idea for the product and the value we created is still a valid business model, and people still use our software now every single day. Tens of thousands of people do. Sage has integrated it into the rest of their product line as well. So now when you use time slips, it feeds into your general ledger directly, which again was one of the things that we had to sort of do piecemeal. We had a separate product we used to sell called Time Slips Accounting Link, TAL, as we used to call it. And TAL's entire job was to be a series of interfaces for different accounting software. And so that's how we did what Sage basically did with all of their products.
Right. So you were ahead of the curve at that point.
Yes.
You was well ahead of the curve. And throughout your time in business, you've obviously gone through countless recessions.
Yes. You try to call me old, Peter? You call me an old guy?
I'm calling you an experienced guy.
There you go. Good answer. Yeah, I've been through several. And some of them I didn't notice in a way because it really wasn't my focus. I mean, I remember the first true recession I went through. I was a salesman. I was earning commissions. I didn't care that much really about a recession. I just kept selling my products and earning commissions. That was my narrow view of the world. And it's almost really, in a simplistic way, what most people should do anyway. Don't look. A recession is a news story. I'm not saying it's not real, but what I'm saying is recessions happen when people believe that they will and are happening. Recessions stop happening when everybody agrees that the recession is over. So if you simply decide in advance that, well, that's fine what they say, I'm not in a recession. I'm in an expansion. That makes a big difference in both the results you get and how you feel every day when you wake up.
And I think that's an interesting point of view because a lot of people probably listening in are struggling at the moment.
Yes.
They're experiencing huge adversity, and they're probably saying, well, how do you thrive in such adversity? What would your tips be?
Well, once again, I mean, knowing who you serve with a quality product now is more important or as important as ever before. Serving the right people with the right products is really what business is about. And once you figured that out, you can lose. You could cut your marketing budget because now you know exactly in a targeted way who it is you're trying to reach. So when we first built Time Slips, we advertised in PC Magazine, which was a general PC user magazine, and we got almost zero sales. But when we made an effort to figure out who those people were who expressed interest, we discovered most of them were lawyers, several accountants, but mostly lawyers. So we then completely retooled all of our thinking about even, what kind of a product we have. I would think, oh, everybody can use this. Well, you can't sell to everybody. That's way too expensive to reach everybody. But when you find out that it's perfectly suited for lawyers, and you could run an ad in a legal law journal for $30 and get 5 or 6 copies sold on that $30 ad, well, now that becomes a business proposition, something that you can scale. And we did, little by little. We scaled it. We kept advertising. We grew our ad budget. We grew our sales departments, and we sold a lot more software.
Do you think when you did Time Slip, when you started Time Slips, when you were quite ahead of the 8 ball at the time, you were sort of leading the pack. Do you think we're at a point now where probably the pandemic itself, localized lockdowns across the globe, has drastically changed the way that people shop for, number one, and number two, what they shop for? Do you think this is a good exercise that all companies should be going through right now, where they actually relook at where the value they offer customers truly lies? Because surely for a lot of companies, that's absolutely shifted.
Yes. Well, I mean, let's look at what do we know in a generalized sense? We know that people are, starting to, but still are not back in restaurants. We know that people are starting to fly again, but they're not really back traffic is up, but it's not where it was. So all those dollars that were being spent before now have been reallocated. And in my understanding of it, many of that are actually in people's bank accounts. Some of it is in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as well, which is great. I mean, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies tend to be the people's money, if you will. Of course, yesterday we had a big speech from Biden about how he's going to try and take away as much of that as he can to pay for programs that most people here don't really want or need. I mean, we have a workforce in the United States. People are going back to work. We don't, yes, there are going to be always people who are suffering, and we need to take care of those people. But, most people are taking whatever stupid money they get from the government and they're putting it into Bitcoin, or they're putting it into crypto, or they're putting it into, Reddit-based stocks, So it's, in my opinion, again, I'm not the president, nor will I ever want to be. It's really not, it's not in response to what the people need. I think it's more government-based, power-based. But again, I don't care about those things. I care about me and my family. I care about my friends, my community, my loved ones, my clients, and I want to see them thrive no matter what. One of the things, well, someone said to me, doesn't it suck that they're going to raise the taxes? I said, yeah, it sucks, but so what? We'll make more money. I mean, that's what else are you going to do? Say, oh, I'm going to lower my standard of living because they're raising taxes. Oh no, forget that. I have to,
But that's
work.
But Mitch, that's interesting because a lot of people actually probably would take umbrage to the fact that taxes are going up and say, well, I'm not going to pay more taxes, and cut their nose off to spite their face. Now, what you said about cryptocurrency is quite interesting because that's probably showing a whole new marketplace that's starting to grow, and actually a whole new industry started to grow out of it. And that's just a great example of actually how money does shift.
Yes.
And the people that are adding value in the crypto world are actually the ones that are making great money off the back of it.
Yes.
So much so, you've even got companies, it's one of the credit card companies, I do believe it's either MasterCard or Visa, but they've actually now shifted over and they're now doing cryptocurrency, as in they're supporting some of the major cryptocurrencies. So I suppose it's going to be progress. And it's quite interesting that you still got people standing in the way of progress.
Yeah. Once again, there's a lot of shifting sands and power struggles around crypto. The US government wants to have their monopoly on currency, and and crypto is not a currency. It's called a cryptocurrency, but it's just as gold is not a currency, because currencies can only be controlled by the issuing government. And if you try to treat crypto like currency, the tax man cometh. You'll soon be followed down the street by a hungry IRS agent, happy to find out what it is that you spent your crypto on so that they can get their share. So it's a very clear distinction. It's not currency. And if you think of it that way, you're going to be in trouble, basically. And if you want to live a happy life and stay clear of the taxing authorities in whatever country you're in, then you comply. Complying, look, after all, let's get down to the base scenario. Base scenario is they're going to come with guns and take you away. You could refuse and refuse and refuse and refuse. You can not show up. You can, whatever they force you to try to do. If you keep refusing, they're coming with guns to take you away. So who needs that? Pay the taxes, make more. It's a much better way for me anyway, much better way to view the world.
So so what advice do you give to entrepreneurs out there that right now are not seeing the opportunities that are clearly in front of them because other companies are out there, and there are companies making great money today in the same storm that everybody else is in?
Yeah, I think it's part of understanding basic business strategy. I mean, there are, so many, Peter, I'm sure you know this, there's so many business coaches around in this world. Find someone to talk to, find someone who can give you a viewpoint that you don't have. And the next step, of course, is hire that person, let them hold you accountable and make progress. Coaching is expensive, but not having coaching is more expensive because you lose out on your future. And I'm not saying you can't do it without coaching. Heck, I started Timeslips without coaching, but I had my trusted advisors back then too. So,
which back in the day, they were your eyes and ears, independent of the business. They operated in your blind spot.
Yes, exactly.
And you know what it's like. We can create our own reality and then find evidence to back up what we wanted to back up. I think the nice thing about having somebody outside of your reality is they'll tell you it as it is. And I myself, I've got advisors that advise me just so that I make sure that I don't convince myself of my own BS from time to time.
So true. It's so true. And you really need that. And I applaud you for taking action simply because a lot of people don't. I too have a coach. I have two coaches actually. And I find them to be just so powerful in my life. And I love working with them, and I love the progress I make with their help and assistance. So I'm with you.
And it is really just helping people find find that different viewpoint and actually see it from that different perspective. Because one person looking at the recession thinking is the world's coming to an end is somebody else's opportunity. Whereas it could be both people's opportunity.
Exactly. And once again, if you're focused on thriving, if you're focused on being successful, if you're focused on delivering a quality product and honing it in slowly over time to make it more and more valuable, and you have the right business model, and you're willing to do the work. Remember, you asked me in the beginning of what was my experience starting time slips. The first thing I said is it was really hard work. And it is, it was 7 straight months without a day off, working 17, 18-hour days, but I did it happily. I did it with enthusiasm. I never thought of it as work or toil. I thought of it as being in my zone, is flowing into my power. That's what I thought.
You know what's interesting, Mitch, is that recessions come and go. This one too will pass.
Yeah.
And another one will come though.
Yes.
In the next 10 to 15 years, it'll be all over again. And it's how you deal with that recession, I suppose. It's how you behave in adversity will determine what impact a recession, or what impact you will allow a recession to have on you. And it's true that some people are saying, my business model's been totally changed. I mean, especially if you're a restaurateur, if you're a bricks and mortar business, especially in the UK where it's been totally locked down, there is a degree where people can say and feel aggrieved. And I get it. But the ones that did succeed were the ones that absolutely went digital. And they had, like if you were a retailer shut down, the ones that did succeed were the ones that went e-commerce. And I suppose that's the thinking. You've got to think outside that box and you've got to be prepared to change.
Well, again, we have we like to use the example of pets.com, of businesses that failed. And again, if you go back to the fundamentals, they still hold true today. Why did they fail? Well, I'll go back to the lessons I talked about with time slips. They spent too much money. They could not keep up with their own spending. Wasn't that people didn't want dog food or dog accessories or cat accessories. People love their dogs. They'll spend a fortune on them. The problem is that it was a poorly designed and run business. And it was poorly designed and run because it was run by teenagers who were flooded with money by greedy investors who only saw the possibility of hoisting another public offering on the population.
Which is a good example that unicorns are few and far between. Most
True.
businesses are grown over a period of time. They just don't fly.
That's right.
Brilliant. Have you got any parting comments for the audience?
Well, again, I want to go back to the fundamentals here. A lot of times people say, well, I tried and I failed. And in my opinion, the reason people fail is because they did not take what they learned and pivot it into something different. So I never think of failure unless I quit. So, if I start up an enterprise and I spend a lot of money to promote it or build it, and then nothing happens, and then I say, oh, well, I failed and shut it down, then I truly did fail. But if I learn from that and pivot into something new, like I just did basically with my software platform, then it's not really a failure at all. It's part of the journey of learning what you need.
And I think that's what everyone needs to remember, that actually what everyone's going through right now, they're on a journey and got to learn to navigate that journey.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on today's episode, Mitch. Thank you for joining us. And if anything has resonated with you today and you want to look at things in a bit more detail, head over to boolkah.com and get in touch. And remember, failing to learn is learning to fail, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Once again, Mitch, thank you very much.